precisely 8:15 a.m., the nuclear bomb was dropped on the city of Hiroshima. The destructive power of this bomb was immense, equivalent to the explosion of 15 million kilograms of TNT. Upon detonation, a fireball with a temperature exceeding 7,700 degrees Celsius was formed. This temperature is higher than the temperature of surface of the sun by 2,000 degrees. This fireball covered a circle with a diameter of 1,600 meters from the explosion point. All inhabitants within this circle were vaporized within seconds due to the high temperature. All buildings within this circle were completely destroyed, except for a few structures made of large quantities of reinforced concrete to withstand earthquakes.
Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash, and the sincere salutations to the hopeful elect, and also a healthy shalom to the few Akwath who are listening and learning. Lord's willing, this lesson be edifying and straight to the point. Now, I want to start this lesson off with Revelation chapter 6 and verse 4, and it reads, "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." Now we know that this red horse is symbolic of Esau Edom, the so-called self-proclaimed white man. And his blessing, which was given to him by his father Isaac in Genesis, the 27th chapter, was the fatness of the earth and the sword. And we know that the modern day sword is a gun. In ancient times, it was a sword and bows. And the ultimate sword in this current time is nuclear weapons, nuclear capabilities. And I bring that up to say this: the reason why all these nations once bent the knee to America and did its will was due to the fear of what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, America, with the great sword, all right, it says the United States is the only country to have used nuclear weapons in war. They dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan during World War II. They used that great sword to dominate and rule over the world. But now you have President Trump folding to these tariffs. And that brings up my idiom of the day. It reads, idiom, with your tail between your legs, meaning to be ashamed or embarrassed after a negative experience or a failure. And Trump's tariffs have been a failure. They did not bring manufacturing back to America. All they did was put more misery on you people. The rich got richer and the poor got poor. Simple as that. But America folding like this would not have happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But this goes to show the hegemony of America, Babylon the Great is finished, is through. Now, let me grab a quick clip.
We're going to promote new development in the China-US trade and economic relations and inject more certainty and stability into the world economy. China's position towards this trade war has been clear and consistent, and that is China doesn't want to fight a trade war because trade wars produce no winners. But if the US insists on forcing this war upon us, China will not be afraid of it and will fight to the end.
So perhaps the most important takeaway in all of this is that there is now a vehicle of conversation between these two nations that did not exist before. China wanted to see respect from the United States. This seems to fall in line with those demands, Sarah.
It certainly does. China pointing out that the trade war was begun by Donald Trump. Mark Stewart, thank you so much for all your great reporting there from Beijing.
Right. Trump started this trade war and couldn't finish it.
Even though I gave this description that makes it sound like it's kind of a done deal, the New York Post sets me straight, saying it is a Swiss tease, indicating that they are not fully sold, that this deal is done. But the details are going to come out. Stephen, what are you looking for?
I think this is, the Treasury Secretary is right, it is a reset, but it's a reset from the situation that the President created in the first place. He's going to declare this a big victory because there'll still be a 30% tariff. He believes in tariffs. Tariffs bring in money to the Treasury.
Yeah, and the numbers have been so high that 30% seems low, even though 30% is still really high.
But the question here is 30% tariff sufficient to bring back manufacturing and jobs to the United States that have gone to low-wage economies abroad? Probably not over the long term. Secondly, even if some companies assume the cost of some of those tariffs, if we all end up paying more for Chinese imports, then the consumer is going to be worse off. So you have to ask the question of, has the president simply solved a crisis that he created himself and left us in a worse position? We'll see.
Here's what China signaled over the weekend, as the talks seem to be at least making some progress. So they're saying we're going to promote new development in the China-U.S. trade and economic relations and inject more certainty and stability into the world economy. China's position towards the trade war has been clear and consistent, and that is China doesn't want to fight a trade war because trade wars produce no winners. But if the U.S. insists on forcing this war upon us, China will not be afraid and will fight it to the end. So this is the talk coming out of the deal.
Right.
Which is, this is not our fault. We didn't want this. And also, if you keep doing it, we're like ready to go.
We're watching the headlines out of Switzerland over the weekend, the Swiss cheese deal. And it was really interesting to see President Trump suggest, like, this is great progress is being made. And then the comments that you'd see in Chinese state media were like, China will never get into extortion, things like that. So I think we have.
Right. These other nations have no need to bend the knee to America anymore. And why is that? Because they have the great equalizer. They all have nuclear capabilities now, which leads to my next scripture. This is Joel chapter 3, starting at verse 9. It reads, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong." Right. Let the weak say, I am strong. All these once weak nations that fear was brought to their hearts when they saw what the United States did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there's no longer fear there anymore. All right. Because of what? MAD, M-A-D, mutual assured destruction. They all have nuclear capabilities. And if you push the button, we gonna push the button. And a couple of these other larger nations, such as Russia, China, even Iran, may have nuclear capabilities that even surpass America. All right? So this is why you see Trump behaving the way he's behaving. All right? Tucking his tail between his legs and scampering away. Now, from there, let me grab another clip. This is from RT.
You know, General Zhuk.
And this is a former U.S. Army officer, okay, which is speaking.
Said, we liberated from fascism, they'll never forgive us for that. And we see the same regrowth in all these countries in Europe, partially because they're trying to hold on to what was before. And the U.S. doesn't want to give up the single polar world either. And they're used to being in that family of we're the West and everybody else has to do what we're told. But yeah, the world is changing. China is a prime example. Up to the Opium Wars, China was the biggest economy in the world. It's retaking its own place before. Russia's its own civilization. All of these centers are growing back up to where they were before. So that unipolar moment was literally just a moment. But they don't want to face reality. They don't want to let go, and they're just trying to hold on to what they can't hold on to.
What's your view of the marriage of actual military infrastructure out here today? Because we've seen a mix of, Soviet things that are still right up to date, and also brand new. We saw the Gurun attack drones, very first time as well. What does that tell us about putting that forward and putting it to the forefront of such a day?
What's interesting about this parade versus previous parades is there's a lot less equipment that's still in development that's being showcased, and more equipment that's been brought up, modernized, that's actually on the battlefield right now. So you're seeing the equipment, the modernized versions of the equipment that's actually doing the job that it's supposed to be doing.
Just on that, just to mention the Oreshnik, because I was expecting something on that, but the hypersonic missile, it wasn't shown today, was it? But it is a centerpiece of the military of Russia. So in terms of its ability, its use, how big of a game changer is this?
It's a massive game changer. There's nothing that can stop it. When it comes down, you no longer need nuclear war.
And, just a heads up, he's speaking about that, the weapon that Russia used, I want to say a couple months ago, the Oreshnik, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, that is undetectable by missile defense systems, okay? Can carry a nuclear warhead, but can do so much destructive damage just by the sheer speed and velocity of it.
To do massive damage to a specific target. There's none of the radiation. That's a massive game changer. There's nothing that can stop it. When it comes down, you no longer need nuclear warheads to do massive damage to a specific target. There's none of the radiation. There's no fallout. There's not a big cloud, but you're still destroying the object that you're aiming for, and destroying it deep in. I mean, when those warheads are coming down, they're doing Mach 10 plus. And they're just melting through everything. So this is an entire game changer. Just to make an example, the U.S. just canceled, quietly of course, the U.S. just canceled the HALO system project for the U.S. Navy. Last year they canceled the Arrow system. U.S. can't get first generation hypersonic missiles to work right. And they've been trying for 20-something years. So, of course, they didn't believe that Russia had hypersonics. It's all CGI, it's all fake, until the special military operation started, and you saw the Kinjals flying, and then they had to face the reality of, no, it's not fake, it's real, and we're 3 generations behind.
I mean, what's interesting, you're comparing that, obviously, the American and the Russian technology at the moment. I mean, Chinese are also at the forefront of hypersonic missiles. Russia, too, has also exhibited that. And I think President Trump himself recognizes that the US has really lagged behind in this particular sphere, despite, of course, having the biggest defense budget in the world. I mean, how do we explain that? Is it red tape? Is it bureaucracy? Because it's hard to imagine that they don't have, the engineers and the scientists to be able to develop it.
Actually, maybe not. They don't have the engineers and the scientists. The education system, well, this is a prime example. The U.S. has the most expensive education system in the world. The official illiteracy rate was 21% last year. I mean, you're looking at, we can spend money, but we can't get any results. And the same thing went to here. They said, the Russians can't do it because they have a small research budget compared to ours. Because the whole concept is you have to have a lot of money, not a lot of talent. Right. And, well, we see the results of that. We see a country that's trying to hold on to a global empire, a global basis, but it doesn't have the infrastructure, it doesn't have the money, and it doesn't have the technology anymore. What the SMO has shown with the equipment that went over to the Ukrainians is that modern American equipment is very outdated. It had its moment in the 90s. It didn't evolve. It was a victim of its own success in the 90s, and now it's outdated.
I remember.
Hey, and there you have it, man. There you have it. All right, once again, Joel 3:10. Beat your plowshares in the swords and your pruning hooks in the spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Right. All these nations started spending all their money, time, and resources into perfecting the great sword. Okay. And now they're on the same playing field or above America, Babylon the Great. And they're ready for the smoke. You know, you heard what China said. You know, if y'all want to play these terrorist games, we can play them, but we're not giving in no matter what. These nations are ready for the smoke. They're ready for it. So from here, let's grab Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 23. It reads, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken?" Right. And who is the hammer of the whole earth? America. Okay. That chief mountain, the top nation of the world. Okay. So it reads, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations?" And let's get that word desolation in the blue letter. All right. Let's go to tools. Let's go to desolation. I mean, we know what desolation means. Outline of biblical usage. It says waste, horror. All right. Appalment. Okay. And how is America going to become a waste and a horror when these other nations shoot intercontinental ballistic missiles on America? Its enemies and also its allies are going to turn on America and shoot intercontinental ballistic missiles on it and destroy it. All right. Just like America dropped nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the only nation to use nuclear weapons. Well, what goes around comes around. And the Lord is going to put the spirit on these other nations to launch nuclear intercontinental ballistic missiles on the whore and make her desolate and destroy America in 1 hour. Thus saith the Lord. Okay? And DJ Trump knows that these other nations have become a lot more powerful and have become a lot more advanced in their nuclear capabilities. And this is why he's he's treading lightly. All right. He's using big words. OK, but actions speak louder than words. OK, and he's tucking his fucking tail between his legs. So it reads, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare," meaning a trap, "for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon." Right, pride cometh before destruction. The pride of these Babylonians are making them move foolishly. Okay? It says, "I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai." Right. He's caught between a rock and a hard place, man. Okay. He can't stay where he currently is, and he can't move forward. Either way these Edomites move, it all leads to one conclusion: the end of an age, the end of their empire, America being destroyed in 1 hour. Okay? Okay? Because the Lord is the one that created these intercontinental ballistic missiles. And I'll end it here. It says, "The Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai hath opened his armory." And what is his armory? All these missile silos, all these nuclear subs, everywhere where you see nuclear weapons stored, that's his armory. It says, "And hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation," these intercontinental ballistic missiles. "For this is the work of the Lord, Yahweh, power of hosts, and the land of the Chaldeans." All right. So we are living in beautiful times. So stay tuned, man. Stay tuned. More to come. Shalom, Israel. Wa Abad Babal.